Thank
Ruthie,
you.
welcome. Come and sit next to me.
Yeah.
Good to have you here.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, we're lucky to have you and your trio here.
My crew.
Your crew.
The phenomenal crew.
The phenomenal crew. Always sing from your spirit.
Yeah.
And it's our obligation as singers to let a song speak to you first and then give it away for other people to enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's the way I grew up watching it happen in churches. You know, I grew up listening to my musical background starts in the church, and I remember the feeling first before even I understood words. Yeah, it's just about how it makes you feel. Music makes you feel.
Yeah, I found these words on a Facebook message that you wrote as remembering Phoebe Snow.
Yes, yes.
A remarkable singer.
Yeah.
A unique singer. What did she mean to you?
She was an impeccable songwriter as well as a great singer. And she played guitar, and I was a little young girl wanting to learn how to play guitar and sing. And I thought that the way I heard Poetry Man and everything song from that album over and over again. And yeah, she was my first musical shero, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else has been a major influence? But let's start like really in your family, for example.
I was going to start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Started with my mother. My mother was a beautiful singer. May she rest. My grandmother was another beautiful singer. I grew up with a lot of male singers in the family as well. My grandmother had 5 brothers that sang
in a
church.
group?
Yeah, they sang together.
Wow.
Yeah, and they would travel, and sometimes, you know, we get the treat when they were actually at our church to sing. It was a big deal. And when they sung together, it was what we call turn church out. And so I grew up with that sound. A lot of gospel influences. There's always Mahalia Jackson, you know, the big voice singers, Aretha, obviously.
Yeah.
But you know, I moved into jazz and Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, mostly because of the phrasing, because that was something I learned later on, is how to phrase, how to get out of the way when it came to singing.
Oh,
yeah.
I understand. Growing up with all of this music and developing, at a certain point, I mean, when I read this, I was like, I have to speak about that. You joined the Navy.
I did, yeah.
And it was so to say to have people around you or to have conversations that were not about music for once.
Yeah, that's what it was.
What does that tell us about how your life was? Was it that hectic with music, or were you fed up with music?
I was just in a place where I wanted to adventure out from one thing. Music was a big part of my young life, and I was in a place where I really wanted to just try to do something else. And so, yeah, I worked on helicopters in San Diego for a year.
Wow.
And I got a chance to actually have conversations that had nothing to do with the type of music I grew up with. I worked around an airplane hangar, and so I would listen to what these guys, I worked with men, and I listened to what they listened to.
What were they
listening
to?
AC/DC, it was Deep Purple, you know, and I learned to love rock and roll. I learned to love rock.
So did that time inspire you to write different kind of songs?
It did. Yeah, it was,
nice.
You know, I was a sponge. I soaked up everything I could when it came to music. Music, books, you know, all of it.
So you came out of the Navy, went back to music, so to speak.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And now there's this album,
Joy Comes
Back, which kind of suggests almost that maybe your joy had left temporarily, or...
You know, I can say it was in another room.
The joy was in another room.
You know, because this is the way I look at it. It was there. I just needed to open the door. That's really what I found out.
to see it.
Yes.
And when you sing, I want to be ready when joy comes back,
Yeah.
what's that readiness?
It's that thing that my grandmother would say about if you want love in your life, you set the table for it. You prepare your home, and your body is your temple. Your body is your home. You prepare yourself for that, and joy is no different. If you want joy in your life, you make room for it.
The underlying emotions have a lot to do with a difficult time that you went through.
Yes.
What can you tell us about it? Like short, like how did that lead to this?
Well, making this album was my therapy. It was cheaper than going to therapy.
Therapy for what?
Therapy, I had gone through I had come out of a long-term relationship with a child, and it was really, really tough on
Young child.
on both of us. A young child, yeah. She's 6 now, but yeah, it was a challenge, and to keep touring and to keep singing about, staying light and joyful and all that I'm doing. So I used the music to get me through really challenging times, and it was a beautiful. It was beautiful how it turned out. These are songs that some I wrote, but mostly songs I wish I had written.
So would you say, because I can imagine when you go through a rough time, that you write songs as a cathartic process, but you cherry-picked songs?
I'd listened. I got quiet and I just started listening more than trying to do, and that was a very different approach for me. And in that, I found my way back to gospel in a deeper way, back to blues, and really appreciating that, and really loving soul music, and how there's so much feeling in just a groove, just finding a beautiful groove.
And these songs were sort of the soundtrack to what you were feeling, or they cover that spectrum of your emotions.
They do. The album started with a song called "Forgiven," because that's where I needed to start. They say that forgiving somebody really starts with you forgiving, because you're giving yourself permission to let go, and that's where I started with this album. I started in a place of letting go, and then the rest just came.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Joy Comes Back, which is in a way about the healing of familiar songs, the healing power of familiar songs.
Indeed.
What you gonna sing for us next?
I thought I'd sing something called "Singing the Blues."
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ruthie Foster.